afternoon. I want to thank you all for coming. I particularly want to thank Jeanette and Bob over here. My word, they've travelled and travelled to warm themselves out. And, all I heard was the names. I didn't see the faces till yesterday. I also want to thank somebody who's not here, and his name is Peter King. Peter's our barrister, who's put a lot of work into, as a matter of fact, we were in the High Court 2 days ago. We're not going to talk about that. We'll wait for another 10 days and just see what happens. But Peter has done a lot for us, and as I said yesterday, it's been interesting watching him go through the process. As I said, we deliver to his office 10 documents and he'd absorb 2, then you could see he was burning out. So he'd go away for a week and come back with another 10, get 2 more through. Now when you hear him, like at Canberra a month ago, present a paper on secure property rights and what's really happening with Kyoto and the farmers, it's amazing how well he presents that. So Peter King is the sort of person we need in Parliament who can stand up for this a terrible development within our democracy. Now, what I want to do today, I want to spend a little more time with you all. Up till now, it's been all well and good to set up and say, well, you know, we've lost our rights and secure property is what we're fighting for, and we want a Royal Commission and we want the farmers paid. But you, all of you, are going to have to be able to articulate issues and be able to present them to other people to increase our numbers. And you can't do that unless we start to appreciate fully what's gone on here. So I'm going to ask you all to bear a little with me, and I don't even mind if you say, Peter, say that again, or Peter, what did you mean? I want you to leave this room believing that I've been able to help your understanding of the issues. And I want you to walk out of here saying, wow, that was worthwhile. We're not here for a social gathering. If we don't fix this damn mess up, our kids won't inherit anything. And let me just say something to you right at the outset. If you can't afford to take something, then leave it alone. Because it's called stealing. And unfortunately, the morality of our government is so appalling, they don't even know that very basic fact. Or if they do, they're so conceited and arrogant that this is now an aristocracy versus the peasants. And we went past that 800 years ago. Now, I want to just start by bringing to your attention a few people in your own area that have suffered from some of the draconian legislation that is now on the books in New South Wales. But not just New South Wales, it's also Queensland. But South Australia was a little more, well, they entered into these legislative changes a lot earlier than the other states. But New South Wales and Queensland most recently have suffered the most. Western Australia has also suffered, but not as much. Now, I want to just bring to your attention, first of all, Richard Lyon. Where's Richard? Richard, could you stand up a minute, do you mind? Richard has 2 properties, Yarrawitch and Tom Creek. One at Wauchope and one at the Wauchope. Yarrawitch is 1,200 acres, Tom Creek is 800. Tom Creek, by the way, has been in his family for 130 years. Give him a clap for that, would you? Now, both these are freehold, and not only freehold, but they are A1 agriculture. Now, let me just make this clear to you, and don't ever forget this. When you have a document that tells you that it represents a title, on that document it very clearly states what restrictions you have on that property and what you've done. as forest restrictions. And nobody can come and implant them later. You got that clear? That act is called revocation. So if somebody comes along and says your freehold land now has limitations, we're going to put a road through here and limit the vegetation, and we're going to cut that corner off for a sewage plant, then Mr. Council or Mr. State or Mr. Federal Government, it'll cost you. Because my bit of paper says that's not on my title. If you want to put it there, let's talk about the cost. And anybody that tells you otherwise is having a go at you. And this whole business with native vegetation is one big rip-off. Because by tagging on the end of it the $1.1 million fine, you think, my God, I don't want to go there. And quite frankly, they can't go there either. Now, in regard to that particular property owned by Richard, he had a wilderness emplacement where people tried to place a wilderness order in 1998, and he fought that and was successful. However, he's now under threat from native veg, as well as Jeff Warwick. Jeff here? Jeff, stand up for a second, Jeff. Hellhole, 1927, 640 acres, freehold. And I don't know what we're going to do with Jeff. He's in the Norrendock area of Wauchope, and the Department of Environment now served him on an order on the Native Veg Act, which is going to run into hundreds of thousands of dollars for his land, his property, and them stealing the use of it, all due to some dubious science. By the way, the Native Veg Act was brought in to stop salinity. The recent studies have proven clearing does not cause salinity. It's caused by lack of rain. So, a lot of science on these matters is still out. But let me tell you this. As I said to somebody who was outside Parliament House 2 days ago talking about red gums, and I walked along the footpath to confront them. Oh, you're Peter Spencer. I said, yes, and don't you forget it. I said to him, do you own any trees? I said, no, do you own any? Have you invested in trees? He said, the only trees I'll invest, he said, are ones that you plant, and they're the only ones you cut. I said, young man, if we followed that philosophy, we'd still be swinging from the trees. The only tree you could plant is if you had a piece of ground to put it on, and that's if you cut the trees down that were there in the first place. And when man came down out of that tree and planted his first grain of wheat, it was the road to civilization, and thank God we did it. We may make mistakes in sustainability in many areas as we walk along this road to civilized nobility. But we go back and clean that up. We learn, we grow, and we become a greater people. We become more civilized. Just look at what's happened in the last 50 years. Look at what you hold in your hand, a little telephone, or a computer, or a motor car. Now, Ted Monkley mentioned something to me which was interesting, talking about freedoms. And why I mentioned this one is interesting. Ted had a $1,500 electric bike, and they brought a law out, or the High Court passed a decision that you could no longer use them. So all the people that had that bike lost the use of it, and nobody compensated them. Now let me tell you something. Anybody that sees an unjust law and doesn't stand up and make that clear perpetrates injustice. Yep. Now, there is no such thing as a little injustice. It's either right or it's wrong. As a society, to be told it's the law. How many times they throw this at us? You've got to do it. It's the law. You say to them, but is that law just? Is it right? Now, I want to make a comment now about the previous statement that was read